All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Thursday Night Football Showdown show here on the Mayo Media Network. Smash the like on the way in. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Got my guys here with me, as always, Hoopster and Title. I'll bring them in here in a minute, but going to break down all things Bills, Dolphins. Should be a really good game here to kick off week 2. Hoopster, big week 1 over at SHIPIT Nation. I'll bring you in first. We wrap that up. Now we move on to week 2, my friend.
Yeah, a very solid week 1, and the action was good. I know a lot of our members had big weeks. Some life-changing weeks. I'd say I know our guy Big Marley turning 100 into 100,000. Like you love to see that. He's a good dude, obviously. So super excited for him. But a lot of our members had big weeks as well. But NFL, it's a quick turnaround. I mean, we're back at it Thursday. We talked about it on the Tuesday First Look show. You get right back to work and start the grind. And this starts week 2, ready to break this game down. And then, as always, our content will be up nice and early over at shipitnation.com. So you can get over there, get signed up, get in our Discord, and get this ball rolling for week 2.
Yeah, and just a note real quick before I bring in my guy Title. The YouTube chat, 0 for 3, bad run to start the season. All 3 showdown games, 0 for 3. We're going to get to that later. We'll ask you guys who you think is going to win the game, who you've got for that, as well as the over-under. But we'll see. It was close the other day, Title. 49ers and under. But unfortunately, the 49ers almost put up the over on their own. So the over got there. What's going on, Title? How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, doing well. Excited. Always enjoy talking with these shows. Always big prizes. Anytime we're talking football, it's a great day. So, I mean, there's Tyreek and Josh Allen in a tier of their own. Captain ownership will kind of reflect that. After that, all relatively lowish owned. Mostert's out, so a little piece of news on the Miami side. But, yeah, I'm excited to go through it. There's plenty of options outside of some of the big names.
Yeah, we're going to go through it all. Before we do, real quick, guys, just want to let you know about our YouTube channel, SHIPIT Nation. Up to, from last week, it was like 7.4K. I think we started out up to almost 7.75. We are going to give away an annual football membership that includes Shiptimizer once we hit 8,000. So make sure you guys are going over there to subscribe as well. It just takes 2 seconds. Look up SHIPIT, SHIPIT Nation, whatever in the search box. Go over and subscribe to the channel. We'll bring up the stone for this one to break it all down. But Hoop, before we get into it, maybe you want to just break this game down from the way you see it. First off, we've got, I think it's a 2.5. It's up to now that the Dolphins at home. And I think the total dropped a half point. It's down to around 48.5. When we get to the game later, we'll get the breakdown there. But what's your first thoughts on the game, your grand scheme overview?
Yeah, so initial thought obviously is 2 offenses that can, kind of get it done. They can put up some points, and we have some obvious captains like Title kind of talked about with Josh Allen and Tyreek Hill, the 2 most highest upside guys on the slate. Their captain ownership probably both looking to be 20 plus. And then everyone else kind of falling in line behind them. A-Chain obviously has the big play upside. I think he gets some. But it's a fun game for fantasy. I mean, you have multiple pieces on both sides. We have some cheap options. We have an injury situation like we talked about with Mostert. So I think it should be a fun, exciting game for fantasy. We have explosive players, which makes it even more entertaining. And, multiple running backs, multiple wide receivers, tight end plays, quarterback plays, and then obviously we'll touch on kicker and defense at the end, but a plethora of options tonight in terms of playable guys.
Yeah, Title, we got the stone up over here. We're going to go through it over at SHIPIT Nation. Just go to the stone if you're a member. If you're on mobile, you can just click the PDF. It opens up right in a browser window. It's easy to get inside and check it all out. If you want to do anything with it on your desktop, you want to just download it and remove columns, move guys around, change the color coding. It's up to you, but you got to love this one, Title, for Showdown. $1 million up top tonight, like our guy Nade says. Shout out to Nade. Great day to ship a milli. Love that call. But the high upside in the turquoise here, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of it, right? Obviously, we're still waiting on the Achane news. I mean, I would expect he plays. I think at least others I know aren't as confident, but I definitely think he's going to be in the mix. So we'll see. But look at the, turquoise, 4 or 5 of them up top here. So there is a ton of options. And when we get to captain and breaking that all down, it kind of makes it fun as well. But just your grand scheme overview, first thoughts on this game with this slate at hand.
Yeah, I think you pointed out, going to the stone, seeing what's covered in blue, you see a lot of Buffalo receivers in blue. You see the only player in cash consideration for the Bills is Josh Allen. And that's because, I mean, you could throw James Cook in there as well, but it's unknowns. Like, we're kind of like the Packers when we talked about them against the Eagles. What receiver is it going to be? Now, they're a lot more talented, the Packers receivers, and they throw the ball a little more. This Buffalo team, if they can, they'll run it down the throat with James Cook, with Josh Allen himself, scored multiple touchdowns on the ground. But showdown one-game formats, more than likely one of these Bills guys might get there. Who is it? That's the big question. But that also has ownership spread out, as we can see. 27 Shakir, 21 Coleman, 17 Curtis Samuel. And with Josh Allen, what's really fun, when you play him captain, you can run him naked, you can stack him with 1, with 2, and even 3 pass catchers, because Knox is cheap, Matt Collins is cheap, Samuel, Keon, Shakir don't break the bank. Then the Dolphins side, yeah, I think a chain plays with you. It feels obvious that Jeff Wilson will be running back too, because Jalen Wright was a healthy scratch last week. But who knows? It's week 2. We can think something. We don't actually know at the end of the day. So we have a very popular flex cheat play in Jeff Wilson, a right clear pivot after Tyreek and Waddle. Good luck figuring out if it's Berrios, Chosen, Smythe, Smith, all of that after that. So I think some low-owned play is going to get there today. At least I'm hoping so, to mix it up top.
That's what I got too. And it's funny, sometimes Nades and I are aligned, and I was going to say this when we got to the captain. So we'll use that as a segue in a second just to talk about. I know Hoop loves a good consolidation up top, especially if it's a slate with Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, those type of guys. But shout out to our guy, Kyle, Go Collect, really good dude. Got to hang out with him there. I think it was in Detroit when we went there, Hoop, to your stomping grounds, right? He came out with us and drove out for the day. Awesome to see him there. But yeah, we don't mind sharing it around, the content stuff. But if someone even wants to screenshot this and take it away for one show, go ahead. I mean, you're still taking it to the other sites that you pay way more for your optimizer. You're not getting our projections ownership for the rest of the week. You're not getting the other stuff for the showdown slate, like the core report, the player pool, the slate plan. You're not getting all of the stuff for the main slate on top of all the other sports. So don't mind sharing around. Plus, it's not the final update. It's just the first update of the day. Shout out to our guy, Joey Work. I see him out there. I see our guy, Newens. Going to be more with him shortly. We'll talk about that in the Discord. Our guy, Bader Bear, called it out like it is. A-Chan could be anything from captain to ruled out. Need to be ready to pivot. Obviously, the CMC news on Monday. So, Hoop, I'm going to go to you here. Hit the segue button on what Nate said, because Josh Allen, and kind of just how this works real quick, I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We're showing him right now around 25% on our initial ownership for the captain position here tonight, right? The captain slot. But through our simulations with our projections with salary and the slate at hand, he's still optimal. He still should be up there 30% of the time, which makes him the most leveraged still.
Sounds out. So take a break. I'll hop in. But yeah, so basically this is just showing you what their ownership is and the chances of them being on optimal. So for Josh Allen, it's saying, if he comes in at 25% owned, we still think he gets in the optimal lineup 30% of the time, creating a 5% leverage situation. Tyreek Hill's the other popular captain guy, and his ownership is 22. Optimal chances looking like 23. So small leverage situation, not too crazy, but Josh Allen is clearly the one that stands out with that 5% captain leverage. Are you back in action, Tambo?
I think so. Do you have me back?
In action. Yep. Let's
it's
go.
Something to do with the long-winded and the breaks, but we'll get it solved here.
It's StreamYard telling you your ass talks too much.
Might be. But real quick, before we talk about this stuff, same thing. Like, we had this in the Discord all week already. I think I've seen it 4 different people posted it. There's like a very, obviously he's played them enough times, but it's such a small sample size. He doesn't do well against the Bills until he does. The guy doesn't play well at a golf course until he wins at that tournament. Like, it happens in every sport. He doesn't hit well off this guy and then has 2 home runs off of him. It's the same in every sport. I just literally never use that. And the worst place I think you can use it is on a showdown slate. I hope that's, for you, good spot, but not for me. Hoop, go ahead, take it into the captains and just how you might handle somebody like Josh Allen with the high ownership there.
Yeah, I like the call that our guy Nades had with condensing at captain tonight. And it's something I usually try to do. So far this season, I've spread it out a little bit more than I typically do, but tonight could be a night where I just go ahead and, really condense it down. Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, I think definitely guys to consider. Fading them in the captain, super risky. I don't care about the history with Tyreek and the Bills. He has so many different ways to get it done in multiple sorts of game scripts. So I'm fine with that. I mean, I do actually, if deciding between the two, probably prefer Josh Allen. I mean, the nice thing about condensing on a slate like tonight is there's so many plays on the slate, so many viable options. You're just going to be able to get so many different combinations with your main captains because of all the viable plays, which we'll talk about as we go through. A-Chain is a guy to consider up there. I mean, he has the ability to just absolutely break a slate. He was very active in the passing game. I don't know the exact numbers, but it seemed like he got quite a bit of work. So I'm going to pull it up real fast. 7 targets. I mean, that's big boy numbers in the passing game. So 7 targets, 7 receptions. But like someone else posted, like there's a chance he's like out. I mean, they still said he needs to warm up pregame and see how he's doing. I think he plays. The practice reports from yesterday looked like he would probably play. So I think he does play. He's definitely captain worthy. I think James Cook is potentially a guy to look at, especially if you're going to be underweight Josh Allen in the captain. I think Cook is a guy to look at, and I don't even hate Kincaid. I know it wasn't great in that opening game, didn't do much at all, but I think he's in line for a bounce back today. So I will keep it relatively narrow. This will all be updated in my player pool on the website. But guys, I'm considering at this point Josh Allen, Tua, A-Chain, James Cook, and then maybe throw Waddle in the mix too. I mean, if it's not Tyreek, it can be Waddle, and we talked about it on the main show on Sunday. Those guys rarely go off together, so I don't hate a rule of if you're playing Tyreek Hill captain to keep Waddle out, if you're playing Waddle captain to keep Tyreek out. I don't necessarily hate that. I mean, I don't know if I'll end up doing it, but I don't hate that as a rule tonight.
Yeah, I think you mean Jordan Poyer because he switched sides. He's on the opposite team now, and I think Tre'Davious White moved on to the Rams, but I don't have it in front of me. I was just trying to look that up and see. But just to note, and even like our guy Nades, now we're going to disagree because this is the one, like, here's the thing about Tyreek. 1 play can do really good things for you. 2 plays can break the slate. So 23 is a lot, and now the video's going out.
Did you just get slimed? You got freaking like slimed. It looked like a big blob of slime right in your face. Nickelodeon style. That is great
tonight, man.
That's a sign though, right there, man. Like this, you might be shipping tonight with that sort of thing.
That's worse than the mic going out. What is this?
Wow, you're going no camera the rest of the way. The slime is
I'm gonna fix it up so you guys talk through it. But what sucks is I was about to land a huge point. Is that it's 1 play to get there, 2 plays to break it. 23 is plenty, and the 2s that Nades will be seeing are the Tyreek 2s in his face when he's walking into the end zone on those 2 plays, because there's no way he can have a good game because he's never had one in the past when the personnel was completely different and the sample size is nothing. That's what I was going to say. Title, you go ahead while I try and fix this problem up. I'm getting pissed off now.
That's good. I don't know if that was like a balloon, slime, what was coming in your face, but yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys with Hoop, Nades, probably you, it sounds like, where, I mean, how do you not play Josh Allen? We have him at 25% owned, and we think 30% is how much he hits it for 5% leverage. I mean, I'm going to be playing Josh Allen. We saw his upside last week. There's plenty of cheap options on the slate. There's plenty of low-owned options. Like, we'll talk about defenses later. They're going to be low-owned. Kickers will be a little lower owned than usual because a lot of people going to Jeff Wilson down below. You have anyone that's on the field for Buffalo wide receivers, whether Shakir, Coleman, Samuel, all that, is going to be 6K or less. Shakir's a little more there. So there's enough value on the slate where I like mainly playing the studs. Josh Allen, Tyreek, by far my favorites. A Chain would by far be my 3rd favorite. They're in my own tier. And then after that, yeah, some Waddle, Kincaid. Like, we have Kincaid at 2% captain ownership. He was still on the field, like, you only caught 2 passes.
It is too. If that number is anywhere close, I have to have some Kincaid. Have to.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty close. The one number I don't agree with, and then I want both of your thoughts on, is Tua. So we have him at 14%. I think it could be half of that. People just don't like playing non-rushing quarterbacks in the captain spot. And if that's the case, and just say he has 8% hoop, we would have that as very good positive leverage. I'm talking in my head. It's like how I see the game going. I don't like it really. Because, he throws it to Tyreek. He gets 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Well, Tyreek probably has 100 plus in 2 of them, or Waddle that way. And then you probably need them.
Oh, it's funny.
I do think it's too low owned.
It's funny you bring this up because it's literally exactly what I was thinking about. I went for a walk. Before the show, and I was just thinking through the slate. And that same exact thought popped in my head, like Tua captain. How does Tua captain get there? And I was having a hard time visualizing that getting there because every single time he has a big game, either Waddle or Tyreek go off, and they're just going to score more fantasy points. So even at the lower projected ownership, like still messing with the slime. Yeah, you're clear now. It seems like it's very. I mean, how does he get there? Let's talk about that. Like, how does Tua captain get there? What is the?
He throws one to Jonnu or Smythe or Barrios or Chosen, and Tyreek gets his 85 yards in a time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Got to throw one to a random guy. Essentially, it's one that has to go to a random, because even if, let's say, he throws one to A-Chain, like that probably puts him
A-Chain, because he'll catch enough passes.
It's got to be, so it's got, if you can visualize him throwing to a random guy for a touchdown, that's how Tua captain gets there. I don't love the play.
Are you going to exit 150 or just
I think I might. It just seems like a very unlikely outcome that Tua is the optimal captain.
So, Tambo, I'm going to throw it back. Yeah, all these comments, everyone's saying it. So we have him at 14% captain. Let's say I tell you, for a fact it's going to be 7% when the slate locks. What are you doing?
I'll probably get a light amount, but it's just going to be built out like a triple stack or something. But I'm not in love with it anyway. It would just be an ownership play based on that. I was looking up. I was trying to see if tonight's one of them Nickelodeon kids games. I got slimed for this thing. I didn't know what happened there for a minute, but we made
it. It was a preemptive strike from Nades. He knew you were coming for it with the deuce.
Nathan with the slime bomb right quick when I said something. It just somehow worked out. Like, man, I don't know how this thing happens, but I like our guy's comment. It does feel that way. The key component would be, though, is if he does end up spreading it out. Like, that's really what's usually the thing. Usually we're saying he doesn't. And tonight did get a little bit more condensed. So that is the trouble for me, Title. Just going back to your thoughts, is even if we do get that ownership boost, which I actually agree with you, I think that would be the case. Like, then you're thinking like, oh man, I can get even more leverage on that. But the thing is when you have just Achane, Tyreek, Waddle, even those tight ends were split up, man. So like you literally almost need the perfect outcome where it's Tua runs one in, he throws big yards to his boys, but not enough, because if they get too much, that's going to put them up top. And then it really has to be like 1 to Tyreek, 1 to Waddle, 1 to a tight end. And so just build accordingly. And most people are building 20 or less. I would definitely think about that when you're building those lineups out, if you're going that route.
I like it. I got one more captain name for you. We're showing 2%. Jeff Wilson. So everyone's going to be playing him in the flex. He's plus 110 to score on DraftKings. And again, it's so hard for me to look at these TD props because like so many are overinflated, the slate plan. So Tambo has a little piece for that, it sounds like.
Might be in there.
But plus 110 to score is not crazy. A chain's banged up. If they're inside the 10 multiple times, like it very well could be Wilson as the goal line back getting the carry. Or we saw a chain lined up in the slot multiple times, 2 running back sets, a chain in motion. They don't give it to him. They give it to Wilson. Like if he falls in the box twice, he's going to be played at flex. People aren't going to play that captain. That's something I'm looking at. And what are you talked about slate plan.
Yeah, I was going to go there. I just was getting another comment while you said that. He's definitely in the slate plan. I'm going to be talking more about him in there. But this was another point. I like this one. Kid Lightning, member over at SHIPIT Nation, sharp dude. Good call out here too. Like again, if you're going that route with Tua, it's not just what you need Tua to do and to put into the lineup, what you expect to make him be up top. You'd also have to think, what does that mean for Allen on the other side? What does that mean for all of their guys on that team with all these high upside options that we talked about, all these cash considerations, these other options there. So I definitely think that's another key point that you have to talk about. As far as Wilson goes, I like your call. It's not going to get that sneaky in the flex, but I think it's going to be fine in the captain. because he's actually showing something there. Obviously, this all goes to shit if Achan's ruled out somehow when we get closer to lock, and that'll change it up quite a bit. But I definitely think that's possible. So we'll have to see from there. Did you have anything else on that one?
No,
Nope.
I just think he's going to be very popular in the flex, and it's very obvious where if you flip the build, as you talk about in other spots, plus 110 just really stood out to me. And again, with the chain beat up a little bit, like why run him through the tackles as much when you have someone that they obviously trust? So
especially if you're out there and you don't believe in this spot for Achan, like it's early in the, like people say early in the season, they don't want to run him as much, all these situational stuff. So where he's been questionable all week, I don't believe in that stuff. It's the same 3-game sample size that I make fun of for everything else. So I'm not buying into it. I'm just saying that if you buy into that stuff and you're saying that, then the same people, if you're not playing Tyreek because he does bad against the Bills and you don't want to play HM because of his questionable status is leading into poor performances, then think about that in your build. Use that as the conversation piece. Well, what's going to happen next? The other thing is too, Wilson is definitely a spot here where, like say, you go for a touchdown or two. I think I'll be overweight in flex. And whenever someone is super popular in flex, people don't always think about the next level. Okay, I'm not going HN at captain. I'm using Wilson in the flex, but what about you flipping that and using Wilson up top instead to fit some of these high-priced dudes, Hill, Waddle, Tua, James Cook, Shakir, Allen, some of those guys, and getting a little bit more in there. So, Hoop, any thoughts from you on the Wilson stuff?
If you do go the Wilson captain route, we talk about this all the time. Got to be somewhat careful what you do with the rest of your lineup. Don't assume by playing Wilson captain you're just going to be different, because a lot of times when you take those cheap captains and put them up there, everyone has the same build. So you're thinking, all right, Wilson's only X% in the captain spot. If I play him, I'm going to be different. Well, a lot of people that play Wilson captain, I mean, there's 200,000 people in the main entries on DraftKings. There's going to be Wilson captain. A lot of people are going to have the same. So definitely be looking to leave big chunks of salary on the table or something like that. Don't just assume that you're going to be different with Wilson captain.
Did you type this title? Because I think that's or did you type that, Hoop?
I typed it.
Good to note for sure. We'll have the FanDuel segment at the end more just to lean in on some of this stuff even more. But Hoop, you just brought up a really good point that I actually do want to rehash just for a second from the other night. Obviously, this is not even close, at least not yet. We'll have to wait on the HN news. Again, we expect him to play, but if he doesn't, then Wilson does get thrust into like the situation from the other night for the 49ers there. But that was, we had him at like, I think it was 25% captain optimal. Like once CMC's ruled out, he just becomes such a good play. And that's why, but you almost had to know, like we were talking about in the Discord, leave money on the table in those builds if you want to have a chance to ship unique with that as a captain, more unique than the 5,000 person lineups where you could get Mason with the exact every dude. That's going to be the case tonight. So an if-then scenario title would be if somehow HM was ruled out, now you are going to see Jeff Wilson jump to a big-time captain because it allows people to fit in. Even every optimizer, every projection site, all of that is going to just force in Tyreek, Josh Allen, maybe even one of Waddle and James Cook. Like it's going to fit it all. At that point, you'll still be able to close out with a kicker or something and feel like I've got the nuts. That's the difference right now with HN in versus if he was ruled out. But to Hoop's point, even if you're using him right now as the current stance is, you are getting a captain discount, but you're probably filling it out the same way. I would rather use him in like a 2-touchdown scenario where it's like just Josh Allen on the other side. Maybe Josh Allen and one guy and then load up on Dolphins here, even though they're a 2.5 point favorite. People like the Bills. So, Hoop, anything else you want to add on that, or we can move on?
Another scenario that happened the other night was with the Jordan Mason news, which was obviously, we knew this would happen. This would be the case with him being the guy. All those other value plays on the slate, their ownership just diminishes. And we talked about Alan Lazard, for example, last night. His ownership, or not on the last game, his ownership came way, way down because of the Jordan Mason news. And then he obviously gets what do you have? Did he have 2 touchdowns or 1 touchdown?
He should have had 2. Debo freaking holding bogus, and then he got it that same drive. Yeah.
So that's one thing to keep in mind. I think there's quality value plays on the slate that you can still stick with, even if we do get like the A-chain news that he is not going to play, which I do think he plays, so it's probably a moot point, but just something to take note of. Anytime you get a very, very popular cheap play, the ownership on all the other cheap value plays goes way, way down.
Yeah, one last thing I want to talk about too, and this is why we want you to subscribe to the Mayo Media Network, but subscribe to our channel, is we only do free shows. And we strive to make our free shows as good as the quote-unquote premium shows. And the reason I say it like that is because I think this concept would be something most sites would hold back for discussing behind a paywall, or like, let me explain this to you because it's more advanced or whatever. But two people brought it up. What about Allen? And then it's a 1-5, at least how I would consider it, is you're putting Allen in the captain and 5 guys in the flex that are from the other team. The reason that works sometimes, and especially on a spot like this, I think it does work. And you can take it a step further and do a 2-4 where it's Allen, 1 guy, and then 4, is because the Dolphins are already condensed and only going to get more condensed if somehow Achane was ruled out. Even if he's not ruled out, and as we keep talking about, he's in, you still have a pretty condensed offense there. The other side can get spread around. You got Allen, James Cook. It could be Shakir, Coleman. Mac Hollins was out there getting red zone looks. Knox and Kincaid. Mistakes made and a field goal kicker. So just so many things can happen. It's almost like the Chiefs on that side, that if you wanted to go with Allen scores 2 on the ground, spreads it around, and you don't really need a lot of these guys, you could fill it up that way and run a 1-5. You could also just make it a 2-4 and say, I'll go Allen in the captain. I'm going to pick Keon Coleman as my guy that he hits 1 time, runs it in twice, and then let me fill it up with the condensed offense on the Miami side. So just a thought that you can go through for playing Showdown that not many people do. And if you ever look at the breakdowns of the lineups, 1-5s and 2-4s are pretty much unowned compared to everything else on the slate. That's how they work. This would be a time they can work. So
yeah, it's a extreme running quarterbacks, and then workhorse running backs that get all the work and can get 3 touchdowns. That's how you can make it work. We have, I think, a scenario tonight where it could work. Josh Allen captain with Tua and Tyler. You have a condensed offense on the other side, like you just said. So really good point there.
And they get, sorry, I was going to say they're way more unique when you do it because not many people are going to be running an Allen captain with Tyler Bass and then 4 Dolphins. But yet that can work, and that's going to be a potential lineup for sure.
And the one way we've seen it work, I know on at least a few occasions where it's Allen captain, Dolphins defense in there to get it's different. People don't want to do that, but all it takes is 1 pick six. Josh Allen's very capable of producing that. So just another note there.
Yeah, go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, I just want to point that out. Like today, it's a little different slate, whereas I think 5-1s on the Dolphin side will be a lot higher owned than usually 5-1s are for the exact reasons you said. 4-2 Dolphins is going to be the most popular. 3-3 will get some as always. But if you look at like 5-1 Dolphins, just say that's going to be 10%. The Bills 5-1 might be like 1%. And the reason for that, like you're saying, it's so much more condensed on the Dolphin side. The Jeff Wilson salary is very important on this slate. Then you can mix in like a Berrios, one of the 3 tight ends they play, kickers, D's, whereas Buffalo side, like Shakir, Coleman, Samuel, Mack, Scantling, there's so many more unknowns, which is going to lead a lot of people to 4-2s or 5-1 Miami. So just keep that in mind. But I like what you can go a 2-4 Allen captain and Bass as your other Buffalo guy, because Josh can run 2 touchdowns as we saw last week or 3 touchdowns. He doesn't need to bring anyone with him. Just be a little careful if you go like Allen, Wilson, Tua, Tyreek, then whatever, like a kicker or something. That won't be as unique as you think, even if you do go just 1 Bill and the 5 Dolphins, because the nature of the pricing and the stuff. So good talking point for sure.
Yeah, I like that. And then just over on the site, just showing on ShipTimizer, because members watching and then others that aren't, we obviously have this for NFL. I'm on the Showdown slate. You can force how many total players from either team. So if you are looking to force some of these stacks, doesn't mean you have to play them, but once you adjust your player pool, go into your build settings and then go into the team stacks, you can set it up where you build out 20 lineups, let's say, and then just save the ones you like. If you're like, well, that one makes sense. I actually heard them talk about that on the show. That kind of really fits my pool, and I'd want a couple of those lineups in there. That's how you can do it. So ShipTimizer will help you with that as well. I think that's plenty on the captain. Like I said, I think we just break it down differently and try and give you guys as much as possible, but Hoop said it. A CMC, a Josh Allen, a Jalen Hurts, guys like that is when you can get away with the 1-5s. The 2-4s become unique. Defense against a quarterback captain in this case would work perfectly. So just lots of things that you can do tonight. I think there's going to be some lineups like that we see that have a chance, assuming we get a little bit of scoring here. We'll throw that out there soon. And before Actually, I'm going to throw it out now, but Title, I'll let you start off. Do you want to talk any more about quarterbacks? If not, you can take us into just more in-depth on the running back and maybe spend some time on the Bills, because we didn't talk a lot about James Cook, the other stuff there. So
yeah. I don't really have much more to say about quarterbacks. Josh Allen, by far one of the best on the slate. The Tua ownership we think will be lower than it is, but it's still, you really have to, if you're building a Tua lineup, just tell yourself, paint a picture in your head how it works. As far as the running backs, I mean, it's clear that like the two, a Chain and Wilson, so Miami side, like you're talking about, very easy. Now, I will have some Jalen Wright, and just in the flex, not captain. He's a rookie. He was a healthy scratch last week, but now they've known Mostert's been beat up. A Chain didn't practice earlier in the week. So, Wright, way more explosive. Maybe they have some gadget plays for him, stuff like that. He was obviously drafted for a reason. A pivot off of Jeff Wilson. And if you're not playing a Chain, I don't even hate if you had Jeff Wilson and Jalen Wright together in the flex, in the 150 stuff where you're trying to win a milli solo. But that side's easy enough. I'll be playing a lot of Wilson in the flex, like you said. Chalk on good eating. Buffalo side's interesting, and it's mainly because like Ray Davis is $3,600. That's not free by any means. You actually have to do something at that price, and he's splitting with Ty Johnson on the work that James Cook doesn't get. When James Cook's out of the game, it's more Ty Johnson on third downs, a good pass catching back. It's more Ray Davis when James Cook, they're on their 10th play of the drive. Cook's been pounding it there. You need a quick breather on first down. Ray Davis comes in. You almost need a touchdown for Ray Davis, and he is, where is he? Plus 800. I just don't like him at the end of the day. Will hardly have any of him. I don't really like Ty Johnson. I'll probably hardly have any of him because I prefer Wright. I prefer Wilson. And I really prefer taking a shot on Matt Collins, Jonnu Smith, Braxton Berrios. So at the end of the day, it's James Cook. It's a Chain. It's Wilson. It's Wright. But man, the Chain's in such a smash spot, assuming he plays. I hope people get scared.
yeah, the chat's looking pretty split right now. I put it up. If you guys didn't see it and you're just listening, you go in the chat, throw in who you've got winning the game. We were getting the over-under later. People are throwing it up like last year, but we don't have that segment. So all we want to know who's winning. And so far it looks like Buffalo, Bills. Then it goes on 3 Dolphins. So it's close. Back to the Bills. But it's 4-4. It's only 5-4 right now for the Bills. So keep it rolling. Throw your winners in there and see what you got. Hoop, anything more you want to talk about with these running backs here?
Yeah, I mean, in the spirit of saving time, I'm in lockstep with Title. It's A-Chain, Cook, Wilson, Wright. I'm not messing with these backup running backs for Buffalo. I mean, they have to beat so many guys priced around them to be the guy tonight. Like Ty Johnson and Ray Davis, they have to beat Jeff Wilson and Wright. They're priced around the kickers. They're priced around the defense. There's going to be some cheap wide receivers. Like, they just have to beat too many guys. And I don't know, even if they get a touchdown, like let's say James Cook needs a break and I don't know, Ray Davis gets in there and scores a touchdown, they still might not be enough for them to be on optimal. So I'm out on those dudes. It's HN, Cook, Wilson, and Wright, and moving on.
Interesting, right? So the Bills just took off when I said that. It's Bills, Bills Mafia, Bills with a Dolphins and a Fins in there. So Bills way up. So the chat officially got the Bills. We got that one covered. Now I'll count the ones from earlier, but give us the over or under 48.5. So over or under 48.5, and we'll get it. The Bills are for sure the winner. It's going to be Bills, the YouTube chat. And the YouTube chat's been good on the side. They've been bad on the total. They haven't been able to hit them both together. So
also good Wong teaser opportunity tonight with the Bills. If you do like the Bills, you can tease them up to on FanDuel is nice because you can pick the amount that you go up by. So you can take them from 2.5 up to 7.5. And then another team you can run it back with would be like the Lions are favored by 7.5. So you can, tease those two together. So perfect Wong teaser situation tonight. Even
on same game, if you did like a 7-pointer, I know typically the number is 41 that you're looking for. It's 48.5 right now. So it kind of sucks. Yeah. But if you could eat the hook, the 41.5, and you really got a strong feeling to the over, you could drop it down to 41.5, get the Bills up to 9.5 with the 7 both ways and not be the worst if you like something like that. So I don't hate that for sure. The weather talks title, people talk about that. Did you see anything on the weather, or do you look at that at all? Because that's where I think some people are leaning to the under with the rain, but we've also seen in rain and snow games, even in the past, where that causes more chaos and ends up leading to more points.
Yeah. What I always do, I go to Kevin Ross weather report. He has it as yellow, usually yellow. I really don't change much in any sport. Scattered storms, few lingering showers. I don't expect a washout. No, that weather's not going to change my approach on anything.
Man, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like 10-10 right now. We need more over and unders. Give us the over under 48.5. We want to know that. That's sort of what we're trying to find to link it down. So we'll keep it going with that. But let's move on, Hoop. I'll let you take it into wide receiver. Probably a much bigger discussion today. The running back, we did enough. We went through if-then scenarios, even at the captain, everything. We talked through it with Tua and Josh Allen at the captain. If you want to bring more captain thoughts in here, now that you're here, we didn't spend a lot of time on Shakir, Coleman, some of the alternate guys, but I think it's because we were talking about keeping it condensed. But go ahead, Hoop, take over wide receiver.
Yeah, real quick. William, yes, rocking the 11 hat from Miami. If he ships, he's going. I'll meet you there. If we both ship, we'll meet up in Miami and do a stint at 11. We'll pay the price, though. I mean, the bounce back from 11 is like a couple days. So,
and then whatever you ship, you'll be donating right back.
Yes. Go to a better cause. Wide receiver. Obviously, we have Tyreek. Obviously, we have Waddle. After that, it gets a little bit dicey, and definitely good with both of those in captain. Again, I have to see when I go to build teams. I'm gonna be building teams. We do the show. I start building my teams, then start getting the content up. I have to see with Waddle how much I get, but obviously I know I'm getting Tyreek. I don't want to mess with anyone else at the wide receiver position in the captain spot. The Buffalo guys, man, I don't know what to make of the situation. Coleman, Shakir, Samuel, Hollins. Hollins got a lot of work in the red zone last week. It definitely stood out to me. Did find the end zone. He's 1,600. Shakir and Coleman similar price and projected similar. What was the deal with Curtis Samuel? Like, was he not playing much last week, or just didn't get any action?
He's been injured in the preseason, so they slowly worked him. But
27% of the snaps.
Yeah, that's
big question.
Short week. Maybe he's a fade here. Like, maybe just what's his price? 54. Yeah, I probably will end up fading him. So Coleman, Shakir, Mac Hollins, good with those guys. Miami, just tough outside of Tyreek Hill and Waddle. I mean, those are the guys. They get a large majority of the targets. Braxton Berrios at 1,200. I guess I don't hate that, 1,200. Yeah, I could play him as well. So I'll be mixing these guys in Josh Allen captain teams. Like, you can definitely run them naked, but I don't mind, one of these guys. I don't think I want two, to be honest with you, though. I don't think I want more than two pass catchers for Josh Allen captain teams. We'll talk about Kincaid in a minute, but I just find it hard to believe. Find it hard to find the scenario where multiple of these Buffalo wide receivers are optimal in the flex. So it'll be probably max one on a large majority of teams. Preference is probably Shakir. I think he can just do more, 6,200. But fine with Coleman, fine with Mac Hollins, probably fading Samuel. Berrios I'm good with. MBS still sucks. They did throw a deep bomb to him. I don't even think it was particularly close. Maybe the ball wasn't catchable, but I remember seeing a bomb to him. But I can't do MBS. It's tilting that he's even in the NFL still. Like, he just has done nothing. Like, he's literally done nothing ever, and teams continue to give him a chance. It's wild to me. Now he's definitely going to catch like a 60-yard touchdown and jam it. I'm gonna get slimed like Tambo did earlier, right in the face after his touchdown. But
I'm getting mine out of the way early. I'm saving. Mine's done. I can't get slimed tonight in the actual streets. It was on the camera, so we're good. Yeah. But the Bills and under was the official. The under took off when we asked for it again. So the YouTube chat is on the Bills to win, because it wasn't just the spread. You don't get no spread on this show. It's the winner. So Bills and under is what they took. So we'll see how it goes. But if you're thinking about building out some of your lineups, go with that or avoid it. If you want to avoid the, it's 0-3 right now. And MBS, that's Juju when he was playing the other night. Juju almost caught that touchdown.
Yeah, he did.
After we didn't want nothing to do with him. Thankfully, he didn't. But if MBS does different, than that tonight. It's going to be pretty tilting, especially after Lazard getting 2 last game. If these dudes keep coming in and finding their way, it's not going to be a good season for your boy over here. But I'll let you take it away, Title. And then, again, back to this one. I like this side. Again, Nades and I are flip-flopping on sides, but I like this one because with Allen up top specifically, that's what I was trying to say earlier about those 2-4s. Like if I just go Allen and Coleman's the one dude, Allen runs one in and, it gets 65 on the ground and some yards through the air and maybe he gets a second touchdown late or something. I don't know. Like that's how I'm setting it up. Then I can get the condensed guys in on the other side. I think those builds are a little bit interesting for tonight and make a lot of sense to me. So I definitely like that call there, especially if it's Allen up top. Title, anything else you want to talk about here? If not, we can keep it rolling.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much in lockstep with Hoop. I'm going to be playing. I obviously like Tyreek and Waddle. I do like Braxton Berrios. He was the wide receiver 3 in 3 receiver sets. If he's going to be on the field for $1,200, you can count me in for sure. This Grant Dubé guy, Robbie Chosen, Scantling, those are all really just 150, really, really large field stuff. You're looking to solo ship. If I had to pick any of them, I mean, with all this talk, I guess it really only takes Scantling going down the field and actually catching the ball once. So I guess I would say him over the other guys, but let's hope that's not the case. Buffalo receivers, yeah, I don't mind that rule by Nades at all. I don't like them. How I rank them, Keon's definitely number 1. Matt Collins and Shakir are close for number 2 because of the price. And then after that, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm kind of with Hoop. I don't know if I'm going to hit the full X on Curtis Samuel, but he has a 1.5 catch prop. He has 17.5 yards. Like that's just stone cold awful for 5,400. So it's clearly Shakir or Coleman 1. I'll probably say Mac because of the savings, and then Shakir is how I'll rank Buffalo.
Yeah, we got to see if the Matt Collins thing's interesting because they clearly
like
a role for this guy, and Josh Allen seemed excited to have him out there. So I think Matt Collins could be a key play tonight.
Yeah. And I was just going to say that, I don't know if this will hold, but he's coming in at much lower ownership. It looks like in the flex, and obviously the flex is a spot to look for that we're going to be trying to use him. I mean, it's just unlikely that he's going to end up at the top because of some of the big boys on this slate and the amount you can use and the value. He'd have to really go off, but just using him in that flex spot for 1,600, showing up there a little bit more often than it looks like he's going to be owned. Even if his ownership does steam up a little bit, we still have room to breathe there. Like I feel like he could definitely be a guy. So like Hoop said, if it ends up being MBS, that just sucks. He's $200 more, but I definitely like Hollins. I'll have more of him than MBS in the pool. On the other side,
if I load up on Hollins tonight and MVS catches a bomb, like that is a scenario. You see those viral videos of dudes smashing their TVs. I would consider smashing my fucking TV.
We want that video. If Scanlon gets 65-yard touchdown, I need to see a hammer.
Mr. Hoop would not be happy, but I mean, I would consider doing it at that point.
Just point at that big poster right next to it at that million. Say, this song's going back.
33-1 first touchdown MBS. You want to get a bet in there? There you go. Or you can cover it up.
There's our hedge opportunity right there.
Plus 800, I think, is anytime. So you can just jam the plus 800. And if he gets it, you'll feel pretty good. Your whole portfolio is probably dead, but you've got some money coming back. You won't be completely out the money, and then you'll make the bet as well. So I don't have much to add there.
Nades is dropping the knowledge. I mean, 58% of the snaps for Hollins last week. That's legit, man. Like Hollins is the play.
Yeah, Hollins. What was Berrios? I don't know if he has the numbers up there. I think it was 37%. It looks like. So I don't know. He's 1,200 on the other side.
They do a lot of 2 wide receiver stuff. The Dolphins, so he's not out there. Robbie Chosen. We got Chosen. The Chosen one.
Over
this because it's a good segue. What happened to Kincaid last week? That's the key, and the bounce back spot is here. We obviously have him as a high upside. We know what he's capable of. There was some talk today in the Discord or yesterday, I guess, about like him and Knox together. But again, on a showdown slate, there's just not a chance I'm avoiding it for what the capabilities are, the potential, all of that stuff. So maybe Title, I'll let you start, but take us through tight end, and then any consideration for like Kincaid. I don't know. The other 3 seem pretty tight. Like I wouldn't really want to go there, but Kincaid, if you want to put him up top, I think is definitely an option as well. He was getting double, triple teamed like Wombat says here. That was true for sure if you looked up some of the numbers.
Yeah, saw a video on Twitter this morning, yesterday. He had 4 Cardinals around him for one of the plays. Like, yeah, you're not going to have a very good game with 4 dudes on you. And the thing with Kincaid, and it's more so to do with just Tyreek, Josh Allen, and then the value we have. But this mid-range is just dead. Like, he won't be played because people will find the 1,400 up to Waddle, this Cook, Tua, Chain, all of that. And then you go below, like Keon Coleman at 5'8". I think people would rather take the savings, maybe even 1K for Shakir. He's just in a dead range coming off a bad game. Like, I have to play him. I'm forced. 20% in the flex, 2% in the captain we're showing. He was like the 3rd tight end drafted in best ball and stuff this year. I hope he has a big game because I will be overweight to Kincaid. The other ones outside of him, the Dolphins are so tilting. They're running a 3. You see Jonnu Smith. You see Smythe there. They also have this guy named Julian Hill. Like, I don't know what the heck they're doing. Jonnu is by far the most athletic, and they brought him over, so he would be my preferred play if I had to pick from the Dolphins guys. But they're all probably like, I'm going to probably set a max 10%. I want to probably set a rule, max one of them, and then just mix and match low-owned plays and chalk your lineups and just hope one of them finds their way there. As far as Dawson Knox, they ran a decent amount of 2 receiver set or 2 tight end sets. 1 touchdown is like plus 550, which is even better than some of those other Bills wide receivers. Kind of the same sentiment, but he's 2,600. I don't know. At the end of the day, Kincaid is by far the best. All the other guys are cheeks, but we're playing a showdown, 1 game slate, and if they find the box at that price, they're all leverage off of guys like Wilson and stuff like that. So no strong lean.
Anything you got to add there, Hoop?
The only way I like the Dolphins tight ends is if you're playing Tua captain. If you're playing a Tua captain team, I think that's where these guys can have the most value. Where if they catch a touchdown, it's good because you have Tua in the captain. You're getting more than double points there. So Tua captain is where I look at those Miami guys. I don't have a ton of interest. Like I could potentially X most of these guys out, or I'll definitely be capping like the amount of ownership I get in, and I probably don't get a ton, to be honest. Like cycling in 3 guys, let's say Jeff Wilson does get a majority of the work, you have to imagine, or a good chunk of work, you have to imagine these guys are in there blocking. I don't know. I just don't love any of those guys. Kincaid, though, great bounce back candidate, like for sure. I mean, if he has a big game last week against Arizona, his ownership's probably massive in this spot. But they're what a triple, quadruple teaming the guy. Like, of course, he's not going to have a good game. I'll be going back to him in a big way, especially in Josh Allen captain teams. And then Knox I'm fine with as well, knowing I'm going to be playing a lot of Josh Allen captain. I want to definitely mix in some Knox. Got some red zone targets last week, so I think he's a great play at 2,600. So the only way I have interest in the Miami tight end stuff is if you are going to play 2 captain teams, and I don't think I'm going to have any of those.
That's where they would fit in. They'd be the guy just to round it out, make it work. Like I said, I'd want to overstack it if I was going to it. And to say, like, this keeps coming up again. I had to go look it up myself just to be like, I get what people are saying. Like, literally the last game he played them, there was no fantasy points scored barely anywhere. He had 7 for 82 and a touchdown. That's 30 plus up top, 18 yards shy of the bonus to pop it up even further. Like, I don't know what people are taking these sample sizes and running.
If you want to play this slate like that, you're entitled to, and that means you should probably have a shit ton of Jalen Waddle captain. Like, if you firmly believe that the Bills can shut down Tyreek, you should have Jalen Waddle, massive ownership in the captain. You should have A-Chain, massive ownership in the captain. Like, that's what you should be doing if you truly believe Tyreek's going to get shut down by the Bills, which I obviously am not concerned.
They also lost Poyer, Micah. Like, it's you can't every year. There's defensive changes,
and a lot of the games in Buffalo later in the year when the weather is really shitty. Miami's offense sucks in cold weather. We've seen it for years now. They just can't perform. It's going to be nice. I mean, it's going to be a nice, solid temperature tonight, and I think they can definitely. I'm not concerned with the matchup for Tyreek one bit.
And he's still going to have ownership. So it's not even like that. I mean, it's not like it's some sneaky dude. It's Tyreek. I'm just saying we're trying to help people get better at the game of DFS. And when people look at it from a perspective of, like, no different than this week, there's already people chopping it up for the main slate, talking about last week's snap counts. Talk about 1 week sample coming off. Some guys didn't play preseason. Some did. All of this is just not worth doing. We don't even put our DVP rankings up on the site till week 5 because we want to get an actual sample in there before we can use them. And that's kind of the point in setting it all up. So just especially in a 1-game single slate, it's just remembering this.
But again, if you want to play that read and you feel strongly about that, like building your teams tonight should be super easy. And you're entitled to play it however you want. But if you think Tyreek can't perform against the Bills, you know what you need to do. It's a ton of Waddle. It's a ton of A-Chain in the captain.
Yeah, like this, Justin, you're always in here. You're a good dude, man. I know you're on StatMuse. I'm on it too. Like we're looking at the same thing. It's everyone has the same numbers. You're talking about 2017, 2020, 5 of the games are from 2022 or before. And again, you're looking for a stat to make your story work. He never had more than 82 yards. No, that game he had 82 yards, 7 catches, which are 7 points on DraftKings, and a touchdown, which is 6 more. And you put him at the captain, get 1.5x. It was a 30-point performance. Pretty sure a lot of people are going to take 30-point performances tonight on a showdown slate in the captain slot. So not against you in general, but just trying to help people learn. Stop looking at that stuff 7 years ago, from 7 results from over the last 3-4 years. Like it's not it doesn't matter. Totally different quarterbacks, different teams, different personnel. Just, again, or keep looking at it. I mean, we're trying to take these tournaments down, and that's what I'm going to focus on. So kicker and defense, Hoop, we can move to that. My take on tight end was already said, but I'm going to play Kincaid up top. If they do keep doubling him, then it's not going to work out. Knox in the flex is fine, but you can talk about kicker and defense, Hoop.
Well, you guys know what I'm doing with defense. Again, I don't really need to spend any time. I'm just running it. Whatever I get. I think the most I've had for a defense this year is like 12%. And it's worked out well so far. I mean, at some point, one of these defenses will probably go off. We haven't seen it yet, through week 1, but I keep the same strategy more weeks than not. This will definitely more games than not for Showdown. This will be no different. Whatever I get. Kickers, I will, finally we had the big game for Moody, absolutely went off 6 field goals. The kickers are just too cheap, and their ownership has lagged behind, I'd say, in that first week. I'm making sure I get over the field on these kickers, and both are fine. Sanders is fine, Bass is fine. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, kicker defense.
Yeah, I like that call. I think the only way is, setting it up. You talked about Josh Allen can make some mistakes. I actually don't mind Dolphins in the captain, just because that'd be another way. And especially if HM was ruled out and it becomes Wilson up top at 3,600, you can get the Dolphins for 4,500. It would just change the build just a little bit. And then it would be a setup where, everyone's on that. You could still put Wilson into the flex and just hope we get some, even the other night, it was Moody was up top a bunch before it was Mason. It just was obviously the later in the game it got, the more Mason got it. It could happen though. It definitely could happen. So I think that's
Lazard's last TD swung it all. Somebody was sitting solo Millie for
a
long time.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right too. Yeah. So, I mean, there was opportunity the other night. That's what swung it for sure. Title, your thoughts on it? I think like Hoop said it best, both the kickers look pretty good here. And then obviously the defenses, but just maybe going back to captain for a second too, any chance you put those guys up top?
I was waiting for you to get slimed when you said you were putting Dolphins at captain. No, you're winning a solo milli if that happens. Not for me, but I do like Dolphins D in the flex. The 1K savings from Bills, and Josh Allen can make mistakes. So everything you're saying 100% is why I'm playing him in the flex. I rarely put him at captain. A lot of people like it to do it for screenshots. A lot. There's still probably 1%, but you see it all the time. No hot take. I think Dolphins D a lot better than Bills D for the savings, and Josh can make mistakes. Kickers, they both look very fine at their ownership. And I guess kind of whatever I get at kickers is kind of like Hoop. Like I'll do that with kickers. If I get 25%, I'm in. If I had 12%, I'm also fine with that. So they can do whatever.
Yeah, I was trying to see like on the early run. We didn't really do a dry run today. I don't know if you had one up over there, Hoop, but we got a little bit of time. We're going to go to FanDuel quick. There's only about 5 minutes left. But if you had it, I didn't know what was actually coming up, but we have the ownership. So I was kind of using that as the angle in today. But I think the Dolphins, like I said, the Bills, if they get up top, but mostly Dolphins, and then kickers, just to get your builds a little bit different, especially if we ended up getting a guy like Wilson popular at the captain. So final thoughts here, your FanDuel thoughts, anything else you want to talk about there from your side of things?
Yeah, FanDuel thoughts, and I got these teams running right now. So the initial run takes a tad bit longer. So I'll do FanDuel first, and then I'll get to the initial run and see where we're at. One thing that stands out definitely on FanDuel, I'd say, is Tua's price tag, $14K for him. Seems pretty cheap. Where the quarterbacks definitely have an advantage, and I'd definitely be more prone to playing Tua MVP opposed to Tua captain. Don't love the Tua captain play, but I am fine with the Tua MVP play on FanDuel. The price and the fact that the quarterbacks just have the advantage without the full PPR. A-Chain has a cheap price tag, 12.5 for him. Kincaid under 10K at 9,500. Love him, especially if you're going Josh Allen MVP. Jeff Wilson, 6,500. He'll be very popular. Both defenses are 85. Both kickers are 9K. And then in terms of the cheap plays, Jalen Wright is 5,500. So close to a full punt on him. And then there's just a bunch of guys down between the 6 and 7s. It's all those wide receivers. Mac Hollins at 8K. Dawson Knox, 7K. I think that's a fine option. Ty Johnson, 6K. So the two things that definitely stand out, I think Tua's a little bit too cheap over there. Kincaid at 9,500 stands out as a strong option. So those are the two things that stand out. In terms of the initial dry run, it's kind of what you'd expect. It's Josh Allen, Tua gets up there, Josh Allen, Tua, and then Tyreek. And that's 30, 28, and 21%. Then we see A-Chain come in at 10, Jeff Wilson at 5, and then just some kind of sprinkles of James Cook, Mac Hollins. So it's Josh Allen, Tua, and Tyreek, A-Chain, if you're just doing the dry run that are showing up in the majority of teams. And that's basically what ownership is showing as well. So it lines right up with ownership, essentially.
The chat didn't know this one from earlier. This is the Ramsey talk just got brought up, but Bills quarterback Josh Allen owns a perfect 5-0 record against Ramsey teams. So it's been other teams in the past, but just going up against him. And the chat was talking about Coleman or Hollins, or it could be Shakir, and anybody. You never know how it gets switched out back there. It's probably one of those two, but just to note it, I would say that's kind of another one. And just title, before you give any final thoughts, here's how content works. This is a funny one, just going back to it, because I spent more time now that the chat got me fired up. Tyreek sucks against the Bills, or you could say it like this. 2 of the last 3 games, Tyreek Hill went 9 for 13 and a touchdown against the Bills, and 7 on 13 for a touchdown. So 2 of the last 3 games, he's got 13 targets, 7 to 9 catches, and a touchdown both games. Again, it's all sample size, what you frame it up, or if it even matters at all. The bottom line is, showdown, none of this stuff matters. We're all playing the same game. We all got the same salaries. We all can set it up the way we want. So lots of different things that you can do, and we cover it all and more over at SHIPIT Nation. Title, any FanDuel thoughts? If not, final thoughts.
The FanDuel thoughts is you go check the stone, you see Josh Allen, you go all the way to the right, 48% MVP. Have a plan. If your plan is to ship it with 10 people or less, probably full fade Josh Allen. I really like the Tua call it MVP. I do think he's more viable there than captain on DK. Tyreek can outscore him. A chain can outscore him. And at the end of the day, James Cook, I could see if Josh Allen does completely bust, he has no rushing touchdowns. James Cook runs in 2. That 2% right there, that is how you ship whatever it is on FanDuel today, 200K or whatever. All my GPP actions on DK, it's always going to be that way for Showdown, because I really think FanDuel needs to get the NBA, the MVP, the star, the 1.5, the 1-2. Or do something different, like not making you pay 1.5x or something for your MVP, only 5 spots. Obviously, DK is a better product that way. But yeah, the MVP, what to do with Josh Allen. Otherwise, who covered it great. Yeah, and I like your thoughts. I like when chat gets you riled up, Tambo. The energy, you're always there, but you even get it more. But like you said, it's Showdown. It's one game. Throw everything out, the correlation, the this, the that. Because that's how people build their lineups. At the end of the day, you want to split with least amount of people as possible. The way to do that is thinking outside the box, leaving salary, looking at the ownership, mixing in. Oh, you have a Jeff Wilson lineup with all the chalk. Who else is around the Jeff Wilson price tag at 2,400? Who's less? Jalen Wright, Jonnu Smith, Smythe, etc., stuff like that. So what a great addition we had this year with the Stone from DGen.
Yeah, I'm going to do one more thing on it before Hoop goes final, but this is a note. HN just posted a pic on his Instagram, so said it's on. Sounds like he's going to be good to roll. I want to answer Jeffrey's question real quick just to say, like, I'll leave that because Hoop will probably have extra thoughts on it, so I'll throw it up in a second. But I wanted to point out what Title said too. We have MVP ownership projections. Again, it's hard to gauge on FanDuel, especially slates like this. We get as close as we possibly can, but just you can see it already. Like, look at the delta between Tua and Allen. Look at the delta between Cook and Allen. What if somehow he does get in there? And then that's the other thing about the Stone I like too, Title, good call out, is look at the flex optimal for James Cook. It's actually negative leverage. It's like he's coming in higher owned in the flex, which is obvious, but he still looks pretty good. And if you wanted to get different up at the top, moving to James Cook at the captain, even if it is a Cook, Allen with 4 Dolphins lineup in your lineup, that's a 2-4, what we talked about earlier. And you just hope that it's him running it in twice and Allen only gets it once, and maybe one of them is or he gets 2 touchdowns. Sorry, maybe one is a check down. So anything like that is a way that you could set it up. I would still play Wilson myself, especially if it's just flex or what. I mean, it doesn't really matter because it's not price prohibitive. Like, they're both super cheap. I would not rule myself out of that. And then I'll let Hoop take this when I round it over to him. But if you're playing when we talk about this over at SHIPIT Nation, the biggest thing is contest selection, bankroll management, sustainability of being able to be there for your big hit. If you can't play the millie or don't want to play the millie, or you feel like you're going to be an underdog in the millie and you want to play some better tournaments, I would highly recommend that. Just don't be hard on yourself after if you ship it. So many good people in the Discord are getting 30, 40, 50x back on their money at times on these returns in these smaller field, winning the tournament. And they know that lineup would have won them $3,000, $5,000 somewhere else, but they're taking it for what it is, the return that they were trying to get. They were trying to ship the tournament that they were in, and they were in that tournament because it's better for them long-term to stick around, to grow their bankroll, and then find it on another night when they start getting into these bigger tournaments. Hoop, anything you want to add?
One thing before you go to Hoop, because it's right what you said. First night, the likely captain, when you had Worthy.
And him flipped.
You won $750 in the millie with the second nuts, 757, whatever it was. People are winning $2,500 in a lot of other tournaments for less money because there was a lot smaller chop. No one had the likely team that left 4K plus or whatever. So I'll let Hoop talk about that.
Yeah, I did that. That was me. I won the flea flicker for $4,000.
Oh, there you go. Other people did too. Like
second place. Yeah.
5 single entry to 2,200 or whatever. There's multiple people in the other contests. So I think that's all that really needs to be said to answer that question, but I'll let Hoop take it away.
Anything you want to add, Hoop? If not, you can give us your final thoughts and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, same points that you guys made. I mean, it's tough. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's tough to look at the contest and see the one that says $1 million to first, and then, look down and see the one that says 100,000 to first or whatever it is, and say, you know what, I'm going to go for the one that says 100,000. I get it. But man, more times than not, it is the smart move. Not everyone can play 150, obviously. I mean, I totally get that. I mean, it takes a lot of money and whatnot to get into those. If you're only building 1 or 2 teams, like, definitely find a 3 max contest. Like, you're at such a massive disadvantage if you take those 2 and put it in the Millie Maker contest. You really want to, I always say you want to get as close as you can to maxing out whatever sort of contest you're getting in. So if you're building 2 to 3 teams, you should definitely be in those 3 max contests. It's the way to go. There's no doubt about it. So if you still want the upside for a big win, maybe get in the three max contest and go buy yourself like a lotto ticket or something for the night. You still have the upside to win the millions of dollars. You just really want to focus on getting in contests where you can come close to max, even if you're building 20 teams. Like, if you're going to build 20 teams tonight, instead of taking those and jamming them in the Millie Maker, put in the 20 max contest. If you have to decide between the two, that's just something that I feel very strongly about, and I think a lot of people should kind of have that mentality as well. And I get it; it's tough. It's tough to look at those $1 million top prizes and say, you know what, I'm going to get in this contest instead of the $1 million one. But in the long run, trust me, you're going to be better off.
Yeah, if you're not maxing it, I like our girl Kim Gould. She said, I found an absolutely disgusting lineup. She knows she's gambling, but she knows that it's also a type of lineup that if it ships, it might ship all the way. So if you're thinking of it from that perspective too, I would prefer that more if you're going for the entertainment angle. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube here, SHIPIT Nation YouTube. And then I'll bring up one more thing. If you go to the site, if you're a member, you go Education NFL Hoop. You just brought up a good one that I love to hit on. but you go down to our education course and you go to live finals and qualifiers, the secret of satellites. We talk about this all the time. It's not just for live finals. That's another thing. If you can find, like you said it, instead of throwing 20 lineups into the $15 where you pay big money, I know the 20 max is only $60 because it's $3 20 max. Everybody loves that tournament. It's a similar size. It probably still pays out something decent. It's going to be solid enough. But why not take all that money you saved from the $15 at 30 lineups, $450, or 20 lineups, I should say, is $300, and take that extra $240, find some of those $5 queues and go plug those 20 lineups into the queues, because then even if it would have shipped the whole thing, you still got a nice bankroll boost on your money. But then you also got whatever the ticket is. It's almost a guarantee that you win the ticket in a small field with somebody else. And that ticket is your fun money next time when you have to take a shot. You own the ticket now. You can't cash it out. You're using the ticket. So satellites are the way to go for another way to feel good about it, where if you don't hit all the way to the top, you still got something for it that's going to be a very big, very fun sweat. And maybe next time it's the actual nuts. Maybe it's like the situation I had where it's the likely lineup, wins you something, but wouldn't even have won the main. But I got a ticket with it, and the ticket I get all the way there in the smaller field with a similar lineup, and it's $100,000 or $50,000 or something like that. So shout out to Bring the Noise. That's why I live in the 20 max now. Appreciate all the help from the crew that's here. So we appreciate you guys. Great show as always. Thank you guys for supporting. Make sure to smash that like, subscribe to this channel, get over to the other side to Ship It Nation YouTube, get that one done. And if you want to use code Mayo, you can go to shipitnation.com and get yourself a discount for Hoop, for Title, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it.